R.E.P.O is a really fun game to play with your friends. I don't have any friends, so I'm making a sculpture instead. The game has multiple levels, and today we're heading to Swiftbroom Academy. First up, the room itself. Each level has a different room design. This one's a classic stone castle look. I roll out thin sheets of clay, cut them into the floor and wall shapes, and bake them. After baking, I coat them with a clay adhesive, add a second layer, and draw in the brickwork. Yeah, this would have been much faster and easier with foam, but I was too lazy to order new materials, so we're doing the whole thing in polymer clay. Specifically Cosclay, which is flexible and a lot more expensive, but here we are. Now that I've spent multiple hours on something that could have taken 30 minutes, we can move on. Let's make the door. There are 2 doors in the game, but I'll make just one since the room is cropped in my design. I make the base shape, sketch in wood grain, and add edge details. Then glue it into place with tiny hinges for good measure. Next up, texture. For the interior, I mix wall filler and Mod Podge and lightly dab it on. I don't want it to be too noticeable, so I'm applying a very thin layer. For the outside though, I'm going with the Landlords special. Same mix, but thicker and chunkier with added snow texture paste for that ugly textured look. I paint the whole thing dark gray with a lighter gray dry brush. Then a touch of yellow to break up the monotone. Since it is a horror game, I added a dark grimy wash and also let it drip down the walls and floors for that extra neglected vibe. The door gets painted brown with a yellowish highlight and that same dirty wash. Now onto the furniture. First, a shelf. I wanted to use real wood, but all I had were these thin popsicle sticks, so more clay it is. I baked thin pieces and super glued them into a shelf with little drawers and doors as well. I paint this the same brown as the door with a light dry brush and scuffs for wear. And then silver for the handles. And now, some books. Now this would have been much quicker with clay, but I made them with paper instead. Thick paper for covers and folded sheets inside. You can't even really see them in the final build, but I know they have pages. That's what matters, to me, and no one else probably. I paint them in muted colors, grays, browns, and a pinkish tone, and glued them together. And glued them into the shelf with 2-part epoxy glue. I also added a few tiny valuables like a ring and a diamond. Next up, I'll quickly make a barrel, just one of the many random background props in the level. It gets painted the same way as the shelf, brown base, dry brush, done. What's more interesting is what's going on top of the barrel, a love potion. This is a special item only found on this level. I fill a tiny glass jar with pink UV resin and glue it in place. Now for the main event, the semi-bots themselves. I start with a weirdly suggestive blob of clay and try to salvage it by giving it eye holes. The bots shrink and elongate at will, which, not helping the situation. They have 3 distinct layers on their bodies, so I sculpt that along with their massive eyes. A little detail in the back for the health bar and a hinge at the top that holds the head together. The legs are just long pyramids, but I insert wire inside to prevent bending. Cosclay is flexible and I don't want floppy robots. And the arms are smaller pyramids, nothing fancy. In the game you can customize the bot's color. I'm going with red. I like the color and it fits the rest of the background. I add highlights, dark stains, and a general grimy finish. Then paint his huge eyes white with that classic, he's right behind me, isn't he? Look.
Like and subscribe right now.
Finally, I add the health bar detail to the back. I thought it would be fun to give the bot an item to hold. In the game, there's this yellowish translucent stream that connects the bots to whatever it's holding. I recreate that using UV resin over a thin nylon thread. I attach it to the item with more resin and then realized the bot's hand is supposed to have fingers when holding something, so I quickly sculpt tiny fingers, glue them on, and then properly attach the resin stream to the new hand. Nothing some glue can't fix. I also made a second bot, this one in its shrunken mode. It's going to be standing off to the side, tragically watching its friend's demise. He's painted the same way, but green. And now, for the final boss of the build, the monster. There are several to choose from in the game, but I picked the one that I personally find the most annoying and terrifying, the robe. It's basically a giant cloak with a goofy skeleton face and bony arms. I hate fighting this thing. It's probably a skill issue, but any level without it feels manageable, and once it shows up, it's just pain. The sculpt itself is simple. There's not much technical complexity, so I put effort into adding as much detail as I can manage, like adding some folds into the cloth and segments in the fingers. The robe gets painted black with a washed out grey bottom to give it a worn down feel. The face and hands are painted white with shadows in the crevices for that classic dirty horror vibe. Finally, I glue everything onto the base. About 2 seconds after gluing down the barrel, I remembered I wanted a pink glow under the potion, so I awkwardly painted in after the fact. Then finish gluing everything else, and that's it. Thank you to my amazing patrons who help support the channel, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!